Stop Killing Cyclists was created back in 2013 when 6 cyclists were killed on London's roads within a 2-week period. Stop Killing Cyclists then arranged a number of direct action protests, which some people refer to as die-ins, where we would lie down in the road at a particular junction, in this particular case at Transport for London's headquarters, calling for them to make the roads safer for people who wanted to choose to ride a bike.
So, Alex, I have a dog in this fight because my ex-husband actually sustained a very, very serious head injury when he got knocked off his bike in 2010. You may be familiar with that. He was a sportsman, James Cracknell. Everybody always said to me, you must be frightened when he goes and does these crazy, dangerous things. And I used to say, no, I'm frightened when he gets on his bike and goes out of the front door. However, I'm also a car driver, and I'm not a big fan of bikes. You would not get me on a bicycle in London. Okay. A lot of these policies suit, and I mean extra cycle lanes, etc., slowing down the traffic. Do you know who they suit, Alex? They suit men on their bikes, and they are terrible for mothers trying to get 3 kids. I know that's sexist. I realise I'm drawing a terrible sexist assumption there, stereotype. When I've got to get the kids to pick them up from school, to go via the supermarket, to take 2 to swimming clubs, to take 1 to netball club, so that my children are fit and active, how can you justify cycle lanes?
So I would argue I am a father. I have a 3-year-old son. I also drive in central London, probably do about 6,000 miles of driving and 3,000 miles of cycle commuting. At the end of the day, everyone wants to get where they want to get to safely. I can say from driving...
quite quickly?
Well, as quickly as possible. But at the same time, we're facing a climate emergency. The government has decided in that to start spending more money on forms of active travel. Yes, it's a lot of money, but I think it's important to look at the facts and say £30 billion on roads, £2 billion on walking and cycling.
But what are we supposed to do? Genuinely, how am I meant to pick up my children from school, go to the supermarket, take them to their activities to keep them fit and healthy and well? Right now, when I'm doing that, I'm not that bothered about the climate in 100 years' time.
And when you're idling on the road, you're actually...
And all the roads around where I live are traffic jams, bumper to bumper, because of the cycle restriction.
And there are a lot of people who are still choosing to make those journeys in cars when
it's not a choice.
Reality is...
I don't have a choice, Alex. That's the point. I don't have a choice.
Well, I would argue that you do.
What? Go on, then.
Okay.
How do I get 3 kids from school on the back of a bike with the shopping and the trips to the sports?
On our streets, no road closures, no cycle lanes. I still choose to do my nursery run in the morning using an electric cargo bike. Why? Because it's cheaper. You'll happily report about the cost of living crisis on this channel for however many more hours it is. Cost per mile of running cargo bike runs at less than a penny.
I can't get 3 children on the back of a bike.
I don't see any reason why you couldn't do it in a cargo bike. That's what we have.
One of them is...
in the front.
They're enormous. When they were little, we had a cargo bike. You can imagine my ex-husband, that was the first thing he did. He lost his licence because of his head injury. We got a cargo bike. But what do we do with teenagers? What do we do with 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds? And like I say, they've always got kit, they've got violins, they've got...
Of course. And what you're highlighting is that as things currently stand, those roads are not safe for those kids to use any other mode of transport other than you doing the school run, or the taxi run, as a lot of parents call it, in that particular way.
But we don't have time. It's not the safety. I couldn't possibly do all the things I need to do in my car.
Well, if you're doing that run, I can completely understand. But if you're getting your teenage kids to cycle themselves to their violin lesson or their orchestra rehearsal or their football club...
They can't do that at 11. They can't do that at 11 and 12 and 13.
We've seen that in other countries. So I would argue that it is very, very possible, and there's no difference between... a child being able to do that in another country, like Denmark, Copenhagen. We talk about Holland a lot, but there is
no way. I can tell you now, Alex. And listen, I love the fact that it's good for you. Cycling is exercise. I like the fact that it's not polluting our roads. I get all that. But from a fitness point of view, I particularly buy into the concept we should be cycling more. But it is impossible to solve while people have to live their normal, real lives. I am not prepared to put my 11-year-old on a bike to cycle 4 miles to the swimming club in order to save the planet in 100 years' time. I can't do it, Alex.
So as things stand, about 80% of journeys are less than 2 miles in length. On a bicycle, for most people...
In London, or you mean across the country?
So, as things stand... it is very possible for a number of those journeys to be converted to another mode. A 2-mile cycle for most people, will probably take about 15 minutes, maybe less for some other people. More people who choose to do that, that will mean less vehicles on the road. That will mean the people who need to use the roads for whatever purpose that is, whether it's deliveries, whether it's because they're blue badge holders, whether it's because there are parents who have to do what you've just described.
Yeah.
But the point is, there are a lot of people who are currently the single person in a vehicle and could be making those journeys but are choosing not to. Why? Because they think that the roads where they live, it's not just in London, are not safe enough to ride a bicycle on. That's why Stop Killing Cyclists have said £6 billion over five years is enough.